the strength, it's the legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased of a sisterhood, of a race. It's the strength for me, it's the strength, it's the legacy, it's the faith, it's the history, unerased of a sisterhood, of a race. In my shoes, listen to my blues. I stand before you, resilient, stronger than power, soft as a flower. I know the hour, I am the times. It's the strength for me, it's the strength, it's the legacy.
November 30th. This is the last day of the month, and we're ready to start a December end of the year. I'm Gwen McKinney, and I'm usually your host for the evening. And welcome to Unerased Black Women Speak Facebook Live. Well, tonight you're in for a treat. November, as you know, was a rocking period of election and voting and vote counting and victories and defeats. And we've got some victories to celebrate. And we also have to look forward, not backward. And the big question is, now what? And that is the theme of our program tonight. And you'll be hearing more from Unerased Black Women Speak. Now what? Now what is on the table? So, audience, please stay tuned. I am very, very lucky to have a friend and colleague, a former mentee, now a peer. Her name is Holly Holiday, and Holly is joining us tonight. She is going to be our able hostess with the mostest, who's going to carry you all through the evening. And with that, I tip my hat. Hello, Holly.
That easily. You still have a little bit more work to do with me, but I am happy to take the baton, at least for tonight, and make sure we have a fabulous conversation that you have helped us set up and introduced. And I am so excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much, Holly. And I will leave it to Holly to take the show on the road.
All right. Thank you and welcome. Listen, we know that the 2022 midterm elections have had a major impact on our country. And we've heard a lot of the pundits talk about what they think happened. But it is my privilege and honor as part of Unerased Black Women Speak, Now What? Power Beyond the Midterms, to bring forth, we're going to have 4 women leaders, Black women leaders. That's important because they're going to be talking about our story. They're going to give us the perspective that helps us understand not just what happened, but what happened and its impact on our community. And so without further ado, let me start by bringing up these wonderful women, starting with Salandra Benton, who is the Executive Director for the Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation. Welcome, Salandra.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Vanessa Fields, who is the President of the National Organization for Women, Philadelphia chapter. Vanessa, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening. And of course, Michigan, we want to make sure is part of this conversation. Shanae Watson Whitaker, who represents the director, who is the Director of Strategic Partnerships for Michigan Voices. Welcome, Shanae.
Thank you for having me. Good evening,
Absolutely.
everyone.
And we will shortly be joined by our other sister, Helen Butler, who is the executive director for the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda. You all may have heard that Georgia's in the middle of yet another runoff. So you can imagine that she, while we are thinking about what's next, she's still in the what's now moment. So she will be joining us shortly. But I want to get this conversation, Gwen talked about what's next, and I definitely want to get there. But I don't want to move on from a recap moment until we've really had an opportunity to talk about what happened in the last election. Collectively, your organizations literally reached thousands of Black people, knocking on doors, phone calls, text banks, canvassing, lit drops, all the things, events and buses and oh my, all the things. And I know one thing that we can say is that what we heard from the national media, and particularly the national posters, did not really pan out for what happened in the community. So this is an opportunity for us to hear from people who are on the ground to tell us what really happened. So I'm going to start in Philly with Vanessa. Vanessa, what really happened in Philly?
Okay. Well, what really happened in Philly was that people got out, they showed up and they showed out. We did not listen to the pundits. We did not listen to the posters. We did not listen to the media. We listened to our community. We listened to and paid attention to what was going on in our communities and went out and voted for folk who were going to keep, preserve our communities and take care of our concerns and interests. And so we got out in large numbers. As you know, in the midterm elections, that's usually when the Republicans win, because it's a small percentage of people get out, but large numbers, and the young folk got out and voted in large numbers. So that's the story here in Philly. We showed up and we showed out, and we're gonna keep on doing it.
Well, not to be outdone in Pennsylvania, Michigan. You all had some tremendous movement. Shanae, what's the real story? What really happened in Michigan? And what myths did Michigan debunk?
Well, we have a constitutional amendment which protects reproductive rights in Michigan. We restored Roe in Michigan, as we say, with the campaign. I'm also the deputy campaign manager for Reproductive Freedom for All, which is also known as Proposal 3. And we've won. We won 57% of the vote. We outperformed the governor in 82 out of 83 counties in the state. We had unbelievable turnout and support with Black voters, specifically in Detroit, in Oakland County, in Flint, in Saginaw, in Grand Rapids, in Benton Harbor. Those areas really made a difference in the community. And the overwhelming support we had from Black clergy, they really stepped up and became some of our most trusted surrogates during the campaign. And I'm so thankful to all of those leaders, our coalition groups who are mainly Black-led organizations who stepped up and made this happen in the community. So yes, folks, we really stepped up, and this was a intentional effort by mainly Black women and people and other people of color to make this happen. So that's what happened. And people are like, don't talk about abortion, don't talk about Roe, and don't talk about Dobbs. It's the economy, stupid. Nah, boo. It was about Roe, and it was about the Supreme Court, and people knew what was at stake. They knew that their reproductive rights were at stake and were at risk if we did not pass this amendment, and we did.
Well, you know what they say, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan, because he certainly got his own destination, Salandra. They're always making up stuff about what they think about to go down in Florida. What really happened in Florida?
So what really happened in Florida, people came out, they had obstacles, with, redistricting. We had 2 hurricanes, bad storms. We had the governor putting a task force out there parading Black folks, voters, and national news media, about voting, trying to intimidate folks here in Florida. But folks here in Florida said, not so. We're not going, do all this. This is a sign that we have to stand up and push back. We have to stand up and vote. And I just want to give a shout out as well with our young people. They came out in this midterm elections. They did it when folks didn't think Black people was going to show up with all this thrown at them. They still showed up and they voted. So they did what they needed to do. They pushed through all the personal stuff, all the things that, happened. It just shows their resilience and their commitment to making sure that their voice be heard in this process. So I am so proud of our community for doing what they do and what they do best.
Yeah. And I love all of you have mentioned young people. And, we heard leading up to the midterms, if you watch the cable news networks, they would make you think that the young people were asleep. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that was not the case. What were some of the things that the young people were saying? What were some of the things that made them motivated? And we don't know why the media missed it, but what were you hearing? Let's go to Shanae.
Yes. Well, I'm a mom of 6. My kids' age ranges are 25, 24, 24, 24, 20, 22, and 22. So that's the generation that would be directly impacted if we did not have Proposal 3. They knew what was at stake. They knew it was about their generation and what they wanted. They want control over their bodies. They're the ones who are directly impacted by Dobbs being overturned by the Supreme Court. The last voter in Michigan was a college student that stayed online to about 2:00 in the morning, who registered to vote and voted the same day. That's dedication. These students stayed out there for 6 hours. Some places said 8 hours just to register the vote and to vote because of Proposal 3. They knew it was at stake. They knew it was about their bodies. They understood the assignment, like I always say. They knew that they didn't want politicians telling them what to do with their bodies. They didn't want somebody else making the decision for them. And they came out and voted in droves. And I'm just humbled by the support by young people. And I'm hoping that this is an opportunity for them to take charge and for them to lead and for us to listen to them a lot more, because they're so wise, much more wiser than I was at their age. And I can admit that. And they know they're grounded and they know what's going on in the world. And I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we know, what I appreciate, Salandra, about you, what you have always been a champion of youth. And I know you work with Black Youth Vote in particular. But one of the things I love is the diversity of the youth, that it's not just college students. It's not just people working. It's people that are having a whole span of life experiences. How did that play in for young voters in Florida?
Definitely. Community, we had young people, first time voters, taking pictures, Snapchatting us, I'm out here with my sticker, you see young fathers holding their sons with their sticker rolling out, and it was just, I was just like, yes, they got it, they get it, and they was just peer to peer, right? You think they're not paying attention. But they was texting each other. They was, going to the HBCU college campus and they was in the communities where folks are. They had talking to the DJs at the club. They was doing their thing, and so it was a beautiful thing to see the young people. Yes, I do. I love my young people. I will support them. And I'm telling them, because guess what? It's their world. If they don't engage, if they don't be civic engaged, you know what I'm saying? I don't live my life, okay? But guess what? Their life is ahead of them, and they need to really, and they've been paying attention. They they really are engaged, and I can see a future that, they're not taking this stuff. They're not taking it. They push back. They pushing back, and they pushing back with their voice and their vote, and I love it.
I love it too. Well, let's hear, what about the youth in Pennsylvania? Are they pushing back too?
Oh, absolutely. I think the Dobbs decision was a major factor in young people getting out to vote. Climate control also. We just not even taking care of Mother Earth, and this is the planet we're going to leave to them. So they realize, what? These older folk, they're not really taking care of stuff. So we might need to get in here and take care of things. And so I think it was a Dobbs decision, climate control. And also the whole thing with college, with paying back those loans.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I graduated back in 1970, I remember that I was able to get a decent, I had got a decent job. I was able to purchase a home, do things, start a family. They can't do that. because of these
Yes.
huge college loans debts.
Yes.
So I think those three things were what the conversations I had with young folk. Those were the three major things.
Definitely. I just want to jump in that college tuition, where that is a big thing on young people's mind in Florida. Also racism, and also the ability, because we had that COVID and they seen what the impact it had with folks. So around the extended Medicaid and paid sick days, that was definitely on their minds.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, this is a Facebook Live event, so we want to make sure to get our Facebook Live audience in on this as well. Tell us what you're hearing from the youth of America. What are the issues important to them? Go ahead and drop that in the chat and let us know, what are the youth voters talking about? So listen, we talked about the youth. We cannot leave a conversation about what happens in election without talking about Old Faithful. And Old Faithful is Black women. Black women been holding it down. How did Black women play in this election? I feel like we know they voted. We don't need to, we got that. If y'all missed the headline on Black women vote, just put that as the headline and add all the years up and add this one to it. We won't go there. But this year, we saw an unprecedented amount of Black women's leadership. Salandra, talk to us about how Black women's leadership showed up in Florida this cycle.
Well, I think Black women was excited coming off the, the judge going to the first Black woman going to the Supreme Court judge. Really coming through, delivering, knowing the power that they had with their vote, the advocacy, a Black woman as the VP, and seeing so many Black women running for office, right? So that really encouraged Black women to say, listen, we got to keep this going. We can't stop here. We're going to take our families out. We're going to get the house in order. We did relationship organizing, making sure that we call people that's in our phones. We text them. We call them. We know them because they're in our phone. We got a relationship with them. And so we made sure that we continue to have them conversations with them and continue to encourage them to do what they can do, poll watch. They, protect the vote. And then, with election protection, they showed up in every area, souls to the poll. Whatever activity we had, we had concerts, okay, John P. Key concerts, they help organize those, what I'm
comedy
saying?
shows.
Comedy shows, the comedy shows, everything that we could reach with our communities where we went and tried, and but we did reach out to them, letting them know that their voice is important, do not lose their voice in this election, and that they really have to show up and show that, we have to continue this with our family. We have to be leaders. We have to be leaders in our community, our churches, within our families. We have to let our children have to see that we are civically engaged, and that it's very important not to lose their voice. And so I'm excited about the leadership of the Black Women's Roundtable. I'm excited about the Black women, all the Black-led women organizations in Florida. I'm just excited about being Black in this area.
Yes, well, listen, I have to ask Vanessa, because Vanessa comes from the state where we now have a new freshman congresswoman, and Congresswoman Lee from the west side of the state. What other ways did we see Black women's leadership show up in Pennsylvania?
Other ways. Well, I know that Black women always understand the assignment. It's just that plain and clear. We always understand the assignment. We always show up. My only thing is that we always show up, but the party don't always show up for us.
Okay.
But in terms of the other thing that happened in Pennsylvania was not only was Summer Lee, she became the first Black woman to be a congressperson representing Pennsylvania, but the Harrisburg in the House, the Democrats took over the House in Harrisburg, which will result in Joanna McClinton becoming the first Black woman. That's right, say it again. To be the first Black woman to be the Speaker of the House.
I freaking love it.
Yes.
That's amazing. Well, Shanae, we know that we had major state victories in Michigan as well.
Yes, we had the trifecta, the governor, the attorney general, as well as the secretary of state. But what I didn't talk about is we had a a young woman, Kyra Harris Bolden, who is a representative here in Michigan. She ran for Supreme Court Justice. Unfortunately, she barely lost, but with a recent vacancy that we have at the Michigan Supreme Court, she was appointed. So now she is the first Black woman who is on the Michigan State Supreme Court. So that is an amazing outcome.
Yeah.
Golden is a superstar. She is also a mom. She had a baby earlier this year. So this has been a great ride for all of us. And you talk about Black women. We were the backbone of this election cycle. Black women overwhelmingly supported Proposal 3 more than any other demographic group in the state. And it's because of the comedy shows that we had in the state with Black Women's Roundtable. We've also had events around, we've had first ladies of churches who would connect with their husbands and talk to them about why they supported Proposal 3. And some of those husbands who are Baptist ministers came out in support of the proposal because of their wives, because of the first ladies in around the state of Michigan. So I want to uplift the church first ladies. I'm saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, fire baptized myself. And I say that proudly. And I say thanks to those first ladies who had those conversations with their husbands, with the congregations, and they overwhelmingly supported Proposal 3 too.
And I love what you shared because, this year we had more than 900 Black women run for office. And not all of them won, but I love the story that you shared because what I say is even when you don't win the first time or maybe even the second, it demonstrates and solidifies your leadership. And it allows us to do exactly what we try to do here in Unit Race and be seen. And like sharing that story, even though she lost, because she won, it put her on people's radar. She probably wouldn't have been on folks' radar had that vacancy come up and she not run. So I just want to say that as encouragement to people listening. Well, listen, the chat on Facebook is off the chain. And so I want to give people what they want to hear now. And one of the things that a lot of folks are talking about is Black men. And I think, there was some mess about what the Black men was doing. And one of it was, is the Black men and the Black women together? Is we going in separate directions? Talk about what happened with Black men. Vanessa, I'll start with you.
Well, I think, obviously Black men got out and voted, but let's be clear. That's because their mama, their grandmother, their auntie, their girlfriend told them, listen, both of my grandsons live with me. One is 24, one is 18. I got up early, 5 o'clock on election day. I said, all right, guys, come on. We're going down to vote together. Come on, y'all. And one of them is actually, the oldest one is actually a judge of elections. So I made sure that my grandsons got out and voted. And I think that's for us because, I can't talk to a man about whatever, to convince him the way another man will. But as a woman, I can say, which I said, if you don't vote, then you don't need to live here no more. So
we are joined by one of the hardest working women in Georgia, Helen Butler, who is the executive director of the Georgia Coalition on the People's Agenda. First of all, just thank you, Helen. Thank you for all the things. Thank you for showing up tonight. And thank you for continuing to work as you deal with the runoff. We are on the subject of Black men. I'll give you a minute to catch your breath. Solandra, I know you wanted to jump in here. What's the deal? Black men, is the myth true?
I love my brothers. I love them. Yes, they show up. And the thing is that what I love about the experience that I had with it, so we did a texting program, right? My son led that texting program that was texting out, throughout the Florida. But the Black youth folk was the ones that was creating our graphics, right? And they created graphics for Black males, we had Black males' face on it. So, they sent it to me. So I'm part of the texting program. So I send, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I start texting out to all the men in my phone, the texting, and they start responding to me like, normally they don't be responding, but they responded like, I love the image. I love it. They was like, Okay. So we got something going on here. And so with that, when they seen their own faces and they seen people that look like them, they seen that we was respecting their voices and respecting their vote, and we need you. And we was telling them that, we need y'all. You need to ride with us. You need to be our ride and die in this, And they showed up, like I said, they were sending pictures of the young father with his baby, where he voted. They don't show the young men coming out. We was getting across the state pictures of, so I was like, they heard the message, they resonated. On the college campuses, they showed out, the young brothers and stuff, even through all, the hurricane and everything. Right. They was leading, I had to just give a shout out to a lot of the brothers that I know, that I talked to, they was facilitating calls on a weekly basis, organizing like how we gonna make sure we touch these people. So I'm loving it, and because we need them. I love my brothers, and keep on coming, don't stop.
Okay, keep it coming. Well, listen, we're here to share the real tea about what happened in the election, not what they told us was gonna happen, but the actual reality. So, Sinead, what about Michigan? How did brothers show up in Michigan?
Oh, well, I have to start with my husband.
Yes.
My husband is Ken Whitaker. He is the executive director of United Michigan People's Campaign. It is the largest social justice organization, the baddest in the state of Michigan. He, along with Kermit Williams of Oakland Forward, Norman Clement of Detroit Change Initiative, came together and started to have brothers brunches all over the state. They started earlier this year. They started having deliberate conversations around what Black men want, what they want to see in politics, and also Proposal 3 on reproductive rights. And that was an opportunity for Black men to feel safe. They didn't feel judged. They can talk about why they felt in support of Proposal 3, why they feel like they should encourage their friends to talk about Proposal 3. And I think those conversations launched something in our communities. These are all people who are leaders, young leaders. We had people who are 18 to 20-year-olds. We had people from all walks of life, as in all backgrounds from all over the state. And those conversations did something. It lit a fire under many of those folks. And they took it back to their communities. They had those discussions as well. They lobbied in support of Proposal 3 to their everyday brothers and the folks that are on the corner here too. So people understood it. I think because they were the trusted messenger and they know how to speak to their brothers, they were the best people to get that message out. And I so appreciate what they did. And these Black organizations continue to do that work in the state too.
Definitely appreciate you bringing, especially with the Amendment 3 piece. I actually saw a poll earlier today that showed that Black women were supporting abortion rights and reproductive rights, 79% of our community. Black men, 75%. So we right there. Well, listen, it felt like to me, we myth busting up in here, Helen, and it felt like to me that Georgia was ground zero. If you listen to the pundits, if you listen to if it was true, it felt like Georgia was ground zero for the Black men and the Black women fighting each other. What's the real deal about Black women and Black men in Georgia? What really happened?
Well, the real deal is we weren't fighting each other. We came together. We turned out in record numbers. You all were telling your stories. I don't have a husband, but I do have nephews, and I have a nephew that was going to Kennesaw State, and we wanted to make sure every day his mother was calling him to make sure he'd go vote. So what he did when he waited to the last minute, okay, like he shouldn't have, but of course he took a picture of his I voted peach to show it to me that he actually voted, So it was that. And then I had a young man in my office who never voted before, and he got to vote for the first time. And we were in a staff meeting. He goes, I voted. And we go like, yes, it was awesome. So Black men showed up this time. The myth is not there. Don't believe it. Just like you don't believe the polls, right? Black men were engaged. Their turnout numbers were not as high as Black women, but they were right close. So that's the way we want it to be, walking hand in hand for our brothers and our sisters.
Yes, indeed. And shout out to Nikita Hemingway, who's chiming in and so on our Facebook Live page. Thank you for your leadership in Georgia, and thank you for supporting what we're saying. It sounds like really we talked about the youth, we talked about the men, we talked about the women. It was a family affair in this election, and that's the real truth. So if they asked you where the Black people was, say the Black family went to the polls. We showed up. We showed up. We showed up. Well, we gotta turn the conversation to what's next. But before we go to what's next, we gotta give Sister Helen an opportunity to let us know what's still going on in Georgia. So it's deja vu. Here we are again, Helen.
I know it is deja vu again. I apologize for being late, but I was stuck in Atlanta traffic. If you've never been in Atlanta traffic, believe me, I left the office at 5 p.m. and I got here at 7:15. Okay, so that tells you about Atlanta traffic. But that's just like in Atlanta, deja vu again. People are showing up to turn out and vote for a U.S. senator. They feel this position is very critical. They've been in lines 3 to 4 hours the first day. We had to fight to get Saturday voting, but it was brought on. The court said, yes, you can have Saturday voting. You don't have to observe Robert E. Lee Day, but you can have Saturday voting. So 25 counties offered Saturday voting, and we had the first day 157,000 people showed up to vote. So that tells you, and every day since then, we've had record turnout numbers. We've broken the trend. So people are standing in line. They understand that, these suppressive techniques for not allowing vote by mail, they may put them in the way, but what they're saying ain't no mountain high enough that we are not going to stop us from voting. We're going to climb that mountain. We're going to get around it. We're going to make sure that we show up and make a determination as to who we want to represent us, not what pundits want us to represent us, but we, the people. I was in Sandersville last night with Roland Martin's show. And of course, the people down there were excited. So that tells me everywhere in the state of Georgia, if you're in rural Georgia like Sandersville, man, it's all over the state, the energy, the enthusiasm. The people are wanting to make a difference, and they understand that Senate position, numbers matter, because they saw when you have a 50-50 Senate, it's hard to get a lot of things passed, like the George Floyd Criminal Justice Act, right? Or like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But with that extra number, they see that things could be different. So we don't tell them who to vote for, but believe me, they know who they're going to vote for, and they're showing up to do that.
Listen, Georgia may have inadvertently been our case study for what we have known, which is 365-day civic engagement works. When we don't have a break, we just keep doing it. At this point, they're going to be trying to vote in March and not have nothing to vote on.
No, the Speaker of the House died recently, so we're going to have a special election again.
All right.
I mean, it's elections and stuff like that are happening all the time.
That's
so
perfect,
we're telling
I think Georgia voters are ready. They just want to be at the polls at this point. All right.
Yes.
Well, listen, we have talked about what has happened. It's definitely time to talk about what's next. And to lead this conversation off, we have our own Vanessa, who has done a little promo video that we're going to go to give us a sample of what next looks like. And then we'll come back and get into what's next.
but this will mean there's some really historic making appointments. The Speaker of the House will be a Black woman, Joanna McClinton. She'll be the first Black woman to be it. And what that means, we're having a Black woman at the table as the chair, the Speaker of the House, is incredible impact in terms of someone there who is really concerned about the Black community. Definitely cannot rest. So 2024, we cannot rest. And what we want to do is continue to get people into the habit of voting every 6 months. Get people into the habit of remembering that there's not just the one election for President of the United States, but there's these midterm elections. Matter of fact, in Philly, next year, 2023, we will be voting for our 100th mayor. We're going to get the boots on the ground immediately, strategizing to remind people of the election, who's running, how these different elected officials, how their jobs impact our daily life. So what is next is working on this municipal. The last 99 mayors have been male, and I think it's time for us to have a female as mayor. And so I know Philly now is going to work really hard to make sure that 100th mayor is a woman. Oh, wow. I like that.
Did you love that? Did you love that? Yes. Well, listen, that was just a little teaser because we're going to be we have those magic moments set up for all of you ladies. So we're going to be getting you guys in and sharing that. This is actually the now what's next? Because we know the election's over and what we starting to hear in the streets already. Now what's next? So we're going to this video kicks off that campaign. We're going to be doing a year-long campaign to help bring forth the issues and other things about now what's next. So let's just get into that conversation and talk about now what's next. Solandra, in Florida, what are we going to be working on in 2023 and 2024?
Education. I believe that we have to, we always talking about voters registration, right? And you got all these people on the rolls, but you have to, especially with first-time voters and everything, we have to educate them, the process. We have to educate them on who's on the ballot. We have to educate them on the different elected official offices and what roles they play. So a lot of times, they don't know, the judges. So this is the time that we're going to use in 2023 to go around the state and do a lot of voter education. We also, because our Black men got excited, they're rolling out the Black Men's Roundtable, and they're going to be doing a lot of stuff. Starting February 23, the month of love. So that's their love letter to the women. Like, we're gonna roll out and step up. So they're so excited. Been talking to a lot of them around the state. So this is going to be an awesome thing. And again, our Black Youth Vote, honey, they already they already planning, right, and doing stuff. So collectively, and just really using this time, because I think we do not educate enough. Our people are not prepared enough, especially when they're first-time voters. So we're going to take that opportunity to really engage them, answer their questions, give them a safe place, because we want them to think that they're asking a stupid question or they don't know. We're going to make sure we're going into the rural communities. We're going to go, really make sure that when people are left out of the conversation, that we hear them, So we got the listening sessions, because it's not about what I think that we should advocate for, but it's about what our people, what our community, what's happening to them, what's impacting them, and to make sure that we hear them and let them know that we hear their voice and we know what we need to move on to educate and advocate and organize around. Coming to 2020.
Well, Shanae, Michigan has already led the way on making abortion access a constitutional right in Michigan. What's next in Michigan? What else are we going to be working on?
Well, there are a few things that we want to prioritize, including holding our elected officials accountable. How do we do that? Many of our Black-led organizations want to come together and coalesce behind issues and policy issues. They want to present policy to these elected officials. So the elected official can't say, well, you send me a letter or something. No, we're coming to you in our hand with actual legislation that you can present to your colleagues in the House and the State Senate. But it's also about leadership development and base building. This campaign really unleashed a new generation of political talent that we haven't seen before. And it's now up to us to engage them and to invest in them. And many of us want to do that. And that's what we'll be focusing on in 2023 as well. So it's the legislative priorities as well as leadership development and base building to make sure that we're getting ready and geared up for 2024. We want our folks to have jobs. I was fortunate enough to be on this campaign. I want younger people, my kids' generation, to have those same opportunities as well. So we're going to invest in them heavily in 2023 in preparation of 2024.
I want the t-shirt that says invest and engage.
Right.
I want that investment part up front. Invest and engage.
Love it.
So Helen, I don't know if you can even have your mind go there, but I'm going to put it out there. 2023, 2024, what's happening in Georgia?
Well, I can tell you, I agree with both of the ladies. Like Solandra said, education is critical to everything. But when I was talking to the people in Sandersville last night, we had to talk about the power that we do have and how do we leverage that power to our benefit. I'll give you an example. 65% of the people that are living in Sandersville, in the city of Sandersville, are Black, but they only have 2 city council seats out of 5. Only 2 out of 5. If you look at Hancock, it's 80% Black. Similar kind of situation. Right. So helping people to understand the power, collective power that you have, that you can make those changes. If you just, in Sandersville, elect a mayor pro tem, that gives you 3 votes on the council, which means that you control the money and all of the stuff. You understand? And it goes to any position for the Board of Education. Same difference. You've got to understand the collective power and how you use that strategically to get things done. Yeah. We've got to do some legislative changes in Georgia for definite.
Yes.
To overcome SB 202, we've got to change that. We need voting rights nationally.
Yes.
Make sure that all of this gerrymandering can be reversed. We got the lawsuits already in place. We filed the lawsuits, but lawsuits take time. So we need to have legislation that will help us achieve those goals. Runoff. Just to have this runoff is going to cost millions of dollars to taxpayers. When this past session, we advocated for ranked choice voting. We got it for the military, but they didn't want to give it to the broad spectrum, right? Voters. So those are the kinds of policies. Vote centers, where no matter where you are in a county, you can actually vote. You don't have to be at a specific location. You can vote anywhere you are. For instance, if I had to vote, come back tonight to this side of town to vote, I would have been out of luck. But if I was anywhere in the county of Fulton, I could have stopped off at an early voting site and actually voted. So it's policies like that. Criminal justice reform for our young people has to be. We've had too many of our children shot and killed. We've got to change that. So those are things that we have to work on. But it all boils down understanding your collective power and how you leverage that collective power.
Yes, power. Okay, my t-shirt so far says invest, engage, educate for power. Yes. I'm working on my t-shirt.
I like that.
So what you gonna add to my t-shirt? What you gonna put on my t-shirt? what's happening?
What else you need to put on your t-shirt? I everything everyone else has already said, I totally agree. We have to, but the number one thing we have to educate folk on who's voting, what their office does, how it impacts on your daily life. I mean, we always want to focus on voter registration, but we have so many people who are on the rolls registered to vote, but then you get a small percentage of them who actually go out and vote. And that's because they don't know. They might not even know there's an election going on. They have no idea of how that person's elected position impacts their daily life. And then what we also have to do, then once we get these folk in there, we use our power, we hold them accountable, and we let them know we put you in there and we can get you out.
Yes, and so, I know Linda like that too. So accountability is going on my t-shirt.
Well, one of the things too, Holly, that Michigan talked about was the leadership development. We've got to train the politicians that are running as well.
Yes.
So that they know what their responsibilities are.
Hello.
And how to navigate the system. So we got to have people like Kimberlyn Carter, who's doing Rep Georgia, that really trains and develop a Rhonda Briggins with Vote Run Lead. All of those groups that are training the candidates. We've got to really hone in on candidates that know what they're supposed to do and will fight, not just be in there, but have the courage to fight for the issues that are important to their communities.
All right now. I love it. I love it. I love it. My t-shirt has to be continued on the back. But listen, I want to close this conversation out because all of you all have mentioned something really important and that you all know is near and dear to my heart, and that's local elections. So let's have a small education moment as we close out. And give us any highlights of local elections that we should be looking out for in your state. And also tell us how we can engage with you. And then we're going to close out and talk about what's next for Unerased Black Women Speak. Solandra, what is happening locally? We got any local elections in Florida coming up in 2023, 2024?
Definitely the local elections. We always tell people go as low as you can go. Okay. Do not wait for 2024. You know, we got school boards, we got mayor races, we got city councils, we have commission boards. You know, it's different boards and that will really impact. And I believe that's where the bench at, right? You start down there, and I tell people a lot of times because you start seeing a lot of people like get frustrated and they go out and run for the state rep or the state senate or Congress. Some get lucky, some don't. But guess what? Then you got to figure it out, right? Like Helen said, we're going to have to train you. But if you start at the local levels, if we could recruit and have folks start at the local level, that they can learn and build the bench as you go up. Because like I tell, as I do voter education, I always tell folks in the community, let me tell you something. If they become the school board member, then they're going to want to be city council. Then they're going to want to be the mayor. Then they want to go up the state to Tallahassee to be the state rep. Then they want to be the Senate. Then they want to go to Congress. Then one day they're going to run for president. So you start those relationships with those folks because guess what? They need you to be able to be promoted and elevated to those areas. So that's where we're really paying attention, especially with the school boards. It's very important for us in Florida, not only for us to pay attention and show up in those areas because they're doing a lot of stuff that's not right by trying to take our history out of the school. Don't want our children to read. Don't want to, they're trying to dumb us down. So we have to be right there to not only encourage people to run for those offices that look like our children, okay? And also just be on the ones that don't look like us and like, listen, we here, we watching you. And guess what? As my sister said from Philly, we'll vote you in and we'll vote you out.
There it is. And tell us the website where we can get in touch and find out what's going on with the Florida Coalition on Black Civic Participation.
So our website is fcbcp.org. So you can view us. We have a place where you can actually make some comments if you want to volunteer, if you want to get in contact with us, how you can get connected. As folks know, Florida is a different kind of state. We got about 3 or 4 different kinds. Have you been there? It's not straight across the line. It's not a cookie cutter. So a lot of folks that parachute in thinking, oh, it's just like, no,
No.
And so we want to make sure that you're connected and that you that we can make sure that you're connected to where you need to be connected and how you can be useful. And we welcome you to be a part of our movement in Florida.
Shanae, what we got going on locally in Michigan that we need to be aware of?
Well, we have a number of municipalities that will have elections next year, mainly in the urban areas. So we're focusing on that as well. So I'm very excited about this opportunity with redistricting. We've gotten an alignment here in Michigan, especially in Black areas, some for the good, some for the bad. But we do have a great opportunity to pick up some seats with Black leadership throughout the state. So I'm excited about that too.
And where's your website and how can we get in touch?
Yes, I am at Michigan Voices, the way it's spelled out, .org.
All right, excellent. Vanessa, well, we know we got the Philly mayor's race because we're looking for our woman already. You had a lot of support from our Facebook audience on that. Tell us what other things are happening locally in Pennsylvania.
So in Philly, we have the mayoral election, city council, register of wills, sheriff, and a couple of judge positions that will all be up next year. So what it does for us also is, for organizations like now, is to remind people about the election, continue to be in the habit of voting, continue to be in the habit of finding out who's running and what they do and how they do it. But we also got to keep in those other two pieces that we talked about, which know your power and hold folk accountable. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start in January. Reminding people of the election, who's running. Like I said, I think it's time for a woman. We done had 99 men.
The Jay-Z song is in my ear. 99 problems.
Right, absolutely.
Time to get one.
Yeah, that's right.
And tell us about your website and how we can get in touch.
Our website is phillynow.org.
All right, excellent. All right, Helen, we're going to let you get back to work, but not without telling us what's happening locally next year in Georgia.
Well, we'll have a lot of local elections, municipal elections next year. Georgia has 530 cities. Not all of them will have elections, but as has been stated by all of the ladies, mayors, city council, boards of education, and other positions that will be up, special elections. So be ready for it. But I want people to continue to be engaged. Go to those local boards of election meetings. Go to your board of education, your county commission meetings, your city council. And people are going to say, well, I can't be doing that. Well, on your block, everybody take one meeting and we come back to the block and tell what happened in that meeting. We've got to be strategic, and that holds elected officials accountable. Invite them back to your neighborhood. So we want you to be engaged. Join us on our website, volunteer. We do voter registration, voter education. We provide rides to the polls, election protection. We have a democracy squad that we send to boards of elections and board meetings throughout the state. So join our democracy squad. And you can join us by www.thepeoplesagenda.org. www.thepeoplesagenda.org.
Well, listen, Salandra, Shanae, Helen, Vanessa, you have told us what was, what is, and what's going to be. So I think, as Shanae has shared, we have completed our assignment. So I want to thank all of you ladies for participating in today's conversation. Audience, please know that our next conversation, we are going to end the year in joy. Joy to the world, December 15th. We're going to, that conversation will be hosted by Marcy Thomas, who is the founder of the Black Girls Collective. And we want to end this conversation like we will begin the next, and that is in joy. So it has been my pleasure to have this conversation. I am so pumped up and energized. I'm ready to go knock doors, make calls, text back, and all the things. And I also want to thank our founder and fearless leader, Gwen McKinney, for giving me the opportunity to even have this conversation with you ladies. I bid all of our Facebook family adieu. We'll see you back on the 15th.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, sis.
Our joy, it's everywhere we are. Low tech and high touch. A smile, a joke, a belly laugh. Warm sunshine, magical sunsets, rainbows in the storm. A shopping spree, a summer picnic, a girl's getaway, a friend's play date, a poem, a book, a prayer. Quiet space from a clamoring day. A Sunday brunch, a champagne toast, a decadent dessert. Soothing, breathing, stretching, or being still. A fast jig, a long walk, a slow dance. Joy is ours. Joy is us. Let's claim it, then own it.